everybody. Before the video starts today, I want to let you guys know my sponsor, PrizeStark, has a new affiliate. It's eWin Racing. They are a gaming chair and desk company, and not only do they have really cool designs, they are also extremely inclusive. Most gaming chairs under $400 are not built for people over 300 pounds or people taller than 6'4". eWin has options for both of these that cost hundreds of dollars cheaper than what you will get anywhere else, and they are the same quality as their regular size counterparts. Their desks are extremely cool looking. I know my social media manager, Mikomi, is also getting one. She's going to get the desk with the pink, I believe, pink RGB. So check out the website and use promo code PrizeStark for 20% off your entire order. Take it easy, guys. Enjoy the video. How's it going, everybody? Today is the first tier list by me for Guilty Gear Strive. So, I already did all the groundwork. So this isn't gonna be a hot take tier list. This is a pretty standard tier list, I think. There's gonna be some hot takes in there, but first off, in my opinion, I don't think there's that many weak characters in the game. That's why right now I have, if you see the list, it's S, A minus tier, and B. I think overall the game, like, the balance is pretty good for a vanilla version. Of course, like, without hindsight of how the game will end up being. Currently, you know, in its first month, it's pretty good, honestly, all things considered, I think, for balance. There's definitely some outliers, for sure, but let's get started. So, first things first, let's do the easy ones. We'll start with S. Ram, of course. Ramethal, probably the best buttons in the game. Extremely good pressure. It's like really hard to interact with her. Solid damage, good super, like very high damage super, reversal. Yeah, she kind of has it all. Good anti-airs. Like she's the neutral queen, truly. Neutral queen and pressure you can't interact with. Like the perfect broken Guilty Gear character, you know? Burst safe combos too. Insane character. In my opinion, the best character in the game so far. Next up, Soul, my boy. Extremely good. Insane pressure, insane damage. He probably has like some of the best combos overall, like in terms of like damage, like corner carry wise, like flexibility. He's extremely flexible character with really good offenses. His neutral could be lacking sometimes. There's definitely some spaces where he's not the best at, but you know, still really strong character. To be honest, this isn't like an ordered list, by the way. I'm just throwing characters in there. So, I wanted to start off with Ram and Soul because they're pretty obvious, but let's start with, you know, let's start getting a little spicy. Next one, I want to give to Chip. Chip is really, really good. And if you've been watching the tournaments lately, the results, Chip is climbing up there. I remember at the beginning of Strive, people were like, he's so bad, he dies in one combo. But, yeah, Chip is still Chip. God-like buttons. You know, fastest character in the game. Really, really good mix-ups. The damage is pretty decent, but like, yeah, his neutral is so fast, insanely good buttons. Like, it's so hard to fight him in neutral. Good pressure too. Like, Chip is still Chip, you know. He may die in one hit, but his tool set is almost unmatched in the game. Like, extremely good character. All right, next up for the S tier list. This is where it might get controversial. Chip could be controversial, but I think most people would agree that Chip is really, really good. Next up, Nagoriyuki. This character is OD. This character is extremely good. Very, very, you know, high damage, just off of like singular hits too. His buttons is absurd. He can like pretty much beat Ram in neutral at some points because of his buttons. Pretty solid pressure, like, I mean, you know, good Nagoriyukis. I know there's not many out there, but if you watch, of course, like Fame, his pressure game is insane. He knows how to, like, you know, come in and out of pressure and just go back to neutral. You know, he's definitely the hardest character out of these four, but his skill ceiling, like his potential is so high in the game, like way higher than maybe Rams and Souls. I think like his potential is crazy in the game. He has a command throw, like he has good supers, like he's insane. You just gotta like know how to manage him. He's definitely up there for sure. At least top 5. At least top 5. All right, next up we're going for the A tier. That's the S tier for the S tier. Those are my 4 S tier characters currently. A tier, pretty easy one. We'll start off with Mei. You know, Totsugeki. Good buttons. Some distorted buttons as well, especially in the air. You know, jump 2H, jump H itself, jump S. You know, fat damage. She's really good, honestly. Like, you can't sleep on Mei. Alright, next up we got Potemkin. I think Pot's really good this game. For a few reasons. Number one, he does fat damage. Pot Buster does an absurd amount of damage in this game. He still keeps his pressure afterwards too. His buttons are pretty solid. He has a pretty good super now with the Aegis Reflector style super. And also the fact that throws, you can't reversal throws, like make having to deal with like his command throw even scarier now because throws are so good in the game. I think he's very strong in this game. I've fought a few good Pot players so far, and I can definitely safely say he's not bad for sure. I think he's quite good. Next up, we got Giovanna. Giovanna is really good. Really good. She's like, low key, like she could be in my top 5, honestly. Extremely fast. Like, dash up throw is basically unreactable for her. You know, solid buttons, solid air buttons. She has good mobility. Confirming into supers, like single hit into her super, like crazy damage, especially at the wall. Grover is pretty good at that if you ever see Grover play Giovanna. You know, just like a good pressure character. And her whip punish game is really strong because if you whiff something, she gets to dash up and press like one of her fast buttons for like some pretty solid damage. Like she got the complete package. She has like a kind of a pseudo reversal too. Like she has it all for a character. Like honestly, probably like she could end up being here. She could end up being here, but for now I'll keep her A tier, I think. Next up on the list. Next up on the list is Axel. Axel is really good in Guilty Gear Strive. Some things benefit him a lot. He has some new moves, some new Rensen follow-ups, like that chain follow-up. And just the fact that the game has like a lot of pushback on moves benefits him a lot. He has a good like quote-unquote dead angle, like the new YRC mechanic, the defensive mechanic, is good because it's all like universal, and which means he isn't like affected by having a bad one. So he has a good defensive option in the game now. You kind of have to IB him on certain situations, or he just like you'll just be stuck there forever. Honestly, like off the rinse and follow up, he pulls you in. You have to insta block it to kind of get out of that situation. And just the extra pushback on his normals is pretty good. And he has some pretty solid damage too. He's good, and some people have been doing some work with him too. EU just had 2 Axel champions. There's some Axels in NA. I think there were like 2 Axels in top 8 at the CLG tournament. So Axel's crazy. Axel is crazy good in this game. So next up, I gotta give it to Milia, man. Milia's good. Milia's pretty damn good. She has some of the best mix-ups in the game. Extremely fast. Pretty solid buttons. Good mix-ups on block too, not just knockdown as well. She's like, she's very, almost the same, besides having no pin if you played Exerd. She still has it all, honestly. I think she's really good. I fought some good, couple good Milias, couple JP Milias too. Alright, that's gonna be it for the A tier. So the A- tier. First we have Ino. I know this could be a hot take because Ino was pretty good, but I don't know. She has like a lot of things where you can kind of counter, honestly. Like her pressure game isn't that great. It isn't as good as it used to be, I feel like. Especially now that like not note. Nah, I can't remember the move now. God damn it. Not Stroke the Big Tree. Chemical Love. Thank you. Goddamn. Chemical Love is you can crouch it now, or you can run under it. So like, her neutral gets a little bit weaker. Her dive kick is probably a little bit weaker, honestly. Stroke the Big Tree. There's some counterplay against it. So like, her mix-ups are really good, and she has pretty solid damage. But like, I don't know, compared to like someone like Milia, like she doesn't feel as complete as Milia, in my opinion. I think she's really good. Like it's A tier to A minus, so like characters are very close together in power, but I think Millie has like an edge against her. I think Eno got the head start, honestly. I feel like more people were playing Eno, and Eno's a little bit easier than Millia, but I think long-term wise, I feel like Millia's gonna be better. Man, I can see it already, especially from playing. I played good Enos, I played good Millias, and I can see the potential with Millia a little bit more than Eno. Next up, the boy Kai. He's solid. They got some solid stuff. Some hidden tech. Shouts to SKD. Got that FD break air dash for like more mobility. That new move he has, the overhead kick, is pretty solid. He can be plus as hell sometimes. He still has good pressure. Still has that knockdown fireball. He's pretty solid overall. His damage isn't great. His damage could be a little better. Sometimes the spacing is a little weird on combos. Some people have to kind of like get used to it. So like he's definitely a little bit harder than Soul for sure. In that aspect, he needs a little bit more finesse to his game plan, but he's solid. He's not bad. He could creep up a little. Maybe people get slightly better with him. Like Ein. Ein's really good from Japan. He's playing a good Kai right now. So he can creep up in power, but I think right now I'll keep him A-. Next up for A- tier, Leo. I mean, this could be a hot take, because, you know, Sonic Fox just won a huge tournament, like, almost like major size, pretty much. But Leo, you know, here's the thing with Guilty Gear is that, like, early on in the game's lifespan, the characters with, like, high offensive power is going to rule or going to dominate early because people don't know defense, right? There's a lot of, like, nuanced situations that people are not going to know because the game's new. So defense-wise, like, it's not going to be the way to go. It's going to be all about that offense. So, you know, Leo is godlike at that. But as time progresses, like, there's more counterplay to his stuff. And his neutral can be lackluster at times. He has a good DP, of course, with the flash kick. But I think he's going to fall in power, honestly. Just, like, a little bit. But I think he's pretty solid, honestly. He's not a bad character, for sure. He's good. He's definitely good in the right hands. Especially if you're the kind of player that can manage him. But I think over time he'll fall once people get better defense and learn how to deal with a bunch of his options. He won't be as strong as he is like early on, kind of like Mei in a way. But Mei, I think, has like harder stuff to deal with than Leo. I feel like Leo will have straightforward answers when people figure out stuff, but Mei always has that stronger RPS style with Dolphin. Like you don't have like a clear cut answer to his, like Leo. You know, the Berserker Slash. I just made a video, by the way, if you want to check that out. How to deal with Leo's Berserker Slash. But, you know, you throw it, you press a button. The front like Rekka part, like you can punish it. Like there's more straightforward answers to Leo stuff where Mei kind of has that RPS style where like you don't get to just like, oh, just do this and it wins, you know? All right, last up on the A-, it is Zato, which means these two are at the bottom of my list. We will go over them later in a second, but let's talk about Zato. As a former Zato main, I think he's okay. Like, his game plan is much different. He has some really, really good stuff, like just if you get a clean hit into the new Nobunaga, the frog move, you get some crazy damage from far away too, from almost mid-screen, honestly. His neutral's like decent. He has some decent air buttons because his flight is a little bit weird now in this game compared to Exerd. His mix-ups are kind of bad, low-key. Like, he doesn't, like, there's too many scenarios where you can kind of mash out of his stuff. I know it's like he's new, like it's new to the game, so I gotta see what people come up with. But like, I don't know. He seems kind of unstable. He seems pretty unstable. Drill isn't as great as the old games. Like, you really can't pressure with Drill that much. And just the fact that, like, the defensive options against are pretty good because if you YRC, it kills Eddie and removes Zato. Like, in Exerd, there were situations where, like, you'll hit Eddie with a dead angle or with the alpha counter if you didn't know what Exerd is. And you would just hit Eddie, and then Zato would just throw you or get a combo. But in this game, the YRC just deletes both of them. You know, the defensive options kind of hurt him, and the fact that strings or like Gatlings are weaker gives Zato less options for negative edging. So, you know, in Exerd you have way more options, so you have more like more button presses to hold, so you can get more negative edges for his moves. But because the Gatlings are a little bit weaker, like he has less options in that regard. So I thought about this a lot as a Zato player. Like I'm pretty confident in putting him here, honestly. Out of all the characters in this list, this is probably the most confident placement. Of course, the top tiers I think are pretty easy for me, but like Zato, I see the weaknesses. Like I can see the strength in some part, but like his weaknesses like definitely shine, especially as someone like me who's played Zato before. So like I have an idea, and I played Strive Zato a little bit too. I didn't like just completely ignore him, but in my opinion, I feel like he has some work. He needs some work to be done. Last, Anji and Faust. Low-key is like this. If I had to order them, it'd be Faust. Faust is hurting big time, man. He's hurting big time. The items aren't as strong. His neutral isn't as strong. Well, actually, his neutral is pretty strong, but I guess the reward off of his neutral isn't as good. But I think the items are the big problem. I think his items are just kind of weak. And just his moves in general just like seem kind of weak overall. Like the bomb's not as good. The bag toss is not that great. His reversal is pretty bad too. Like his super is like you could whiff a whole normal, and the startup is so slow. Like you can just block honestly in a lot of situations. So yeah, Faust, man, Faust needs some work. He's not terrible. Like you can do some work with Faust, but you know he needs a little bit of work. He needs like just a little bit. Like the A- and the B tiers, honestly, like they just need like just a little bit more, and they'd be fine. Honestly, like I think characters in this game are pretty tight in terms of power, but Faust and Anji definitely struggle in most aspects of the game. Anji, like I could put him here too, but there's some things I don't like about him. Like number one, butterfly mix-up is too weak, honestly. But butterfly mix-up is like really bad. Like it's very easy to react to pretty much all of his scenarios because he doesn't have stomp anymore like in the old games. He doesn't have like, you know, fast follow-up stuff, like, and because of the Gatlings, like he's less tricky. You know, he doesn't have like taunt fake overhead, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know, like they kind of were like scared to give him certain tools to make his mix-ups better, because like his mix-up game is like pretty weak. His neutral's kind of decent, you know, he has some tricky stuff, and his buttons are pretty decent, but like the new Fujin kind of like twirl around move, like that beginning part of it that you can hold is kind of, it's definitely way inferior compared to his guard point in the older games. I know they probably didn't want to add guard point in this game because it might be too OD, but yeah, he just seems, yeah, he's just kind of weaker, just a much weaker version than he used to be, honestly. I would like him to have his old moves back at least. Like if they were to give him stomp and they were to give him like the overhead, I think he'd be way better. I think he'd be way more scarier on like block and like on knockdown too, because like butterflies is not cutting it. It's definitely not cutting it neutral, and it's definitely not cutting it in mix-ups. Because like it just feels like incomplete in that regard, in my opinion. But that's it for the tier list, boys. Hope you enjoy. Hopefully I didn't do too many crazy takes, but let me know what you guys think about this tier list, and what do you guys like? What do you guys think about the game overall? Do you think characters are pretty like balanced, or do you think there's some really big gaps in power in the game? Let me know in the comments. Take it easy, guys.